getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff.
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Good day and welcome to Souq Business Landscape, your trusted guide to forces shaping business, economy, and development across Nigeria and around the globe. I am Oyinpreye Krumale, and today we bring you a compelling mix of policy shifts, revenue ambitions, and environmental regulations and global economic strategies that will impact businesses, jobs, and investment in an era where technology, trade, and policy converge to determine the health of economies. Our job is to unpack these stories, not just for headlines, but for meaning, connecting the dots between government actions, corporate responses, and the lived experiences of consumers and citizens. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are watching and listening to us from. I'm Oyinpreye Krumale once again, and today's panel, will I call it, is it's a men's world, if I can say that. Chooks, is it not? Welcome to the show.
Well, yes, but the women shape it.
The women shape it?
Definitely they do.
Okay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. For everyone out there, it's SBL, and I will tell my French brothers bonjour and welcome to SBL. My name is Chooks, John Rogers Chooks. Thanks for having me.
Olumide.
So glad to be on Souq Business. I am Olumide Sokoya. Let's get talking.
Okay. And the institution and think tank, all in one entity.
Nice again to be here. We just make it real.
Just make it real.
Yeah.
I like that.
The oracles have spoken.
Well, on what to expect on today's program, Nigeria's aviation sector is taking a new turn as the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria announces a plan to increase tariffs while fully automating its payment system. The move is aimed at improving operational efficiency and boosting revenue. But what does it mean for airline operators, travelers, and airport businesses? Away from that, we'll move on to the Nigerian Senate, where they are demanding more from the Nigerian Customs Service, raising its revenue target for 2025. Significantly, we will break down the implications of the push and can customs deliver, and what will be the ripple effect on imports, port operations, and prices. And from there, we move on to Lagos. A well-meaning environmental policy has raised economic alarm, and the bells are ringing as the state government begins implementation of a plastic ban. Nearly 90% of jobs in the recycling and packaging value chain could be affected, and this is a case of climate ambition versus economic reality. And lastly, of course, across the Atlantic, the United States is doubling down on semiconductor self-sufficiency with a massive $50 billion stimulus package to bolster its chip industry. We explore how this move will affect global tech supply chains, manufacturing, competitiveness, and potential ripple effects for the African markets. You know what? We're going to break. When we return, we'll get into the business of the day. It's Souq Business Landscape, reaching you live from our studios at Souq Television. Stay with us.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, has announced plans to increase tariffs for all service providers at its airports, aiming to boost revenue and cover rising operational costs. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria of Commercial and Business Development, Adebola Agumbiade assured that the affected businesses will be notified early to enable proper planning. Additionally, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria will fully automate its payment systems, eliminating cash transactions to improve transparency and accountability. The Managing Director, Olumide Sokoya, emphasized that the automation will simplify payments and enhance infrastructure and strengthen revenue monitoring, while warning against unlicensed activities and security risks within the airport premises. First of all, I was looking through some of the revenue-generating services that FAAN, capitalizes on, and I see that there were quite a few of them, but the ones that are associated to aeronautical service operations, about 92%, how they generate their income. Just 8% for non-aeronautic operations. But in foreign climes, 40% for non-aeronautic operations. That's how they generate their income, and about 60%. So I was wondering why the balance. Well, maybe depending on the peculiarity of the client. So first of all, Chooks, let me come to you. What can you draw out of this?
What I can draw out of this is that for doc that flies in, day out.
Yes, Rwanda today, Benin Republic tomorrow, UAE the next week, and back to Burkina Faso.
Prepare your budget and tell the accountant downstairs that things are not going to be the same. I'm happy on one side, but 90% I'm not happy about this.
Okay.
Because it's going to boil down to the pockets of the flyer. And sadly, for we on this side of the divide, we pay more than even our African brothers, our West African brothers, to fly same route, same destination. Now, FAAN is saying they are going to increase tariff for businesses. Now they are shying away from telling you directly, because who does most of the business in FAAN facilities? Is the airlines. Now, we are also having an issue, just like you said. Airports are not just built for traveling alone. Airports are tourist sites. Airports are places governments and nations flaunt. People come to see what's happening at the airport. Airports are places where you can also have markets. You have some free duty and all that. People just come there. They just want to see that airport. People are traveling. They will tell you, I went through Gatwick. I went through Netherlands. Just to pass an airport. Can we boast of that? These are revenue earners, not just taking money from the flyer. Because whatever the airline or whoever is operating an airline business will charge it to whoever is going to use the airline, and the airline will end up charging it to who's going to fly. So FAAN should start looking for other ways of generating revenue other than fleecing the airlines. We pay too much of taxes on each ticket you fly with. If you look at it and see the combination of what you paid for on that ticket, over 50% is on tax, not even from the airline. So we should start looking for other revenues for FAAN.
If not, Nigerians are going to continue to pay.
You're paying well over 200 and something thousand if you're buying a ticket to fly that same day. Now, that's too much.
Doctor.
Well, I just want to thumb up for Festus Keyamo and Madam Kuku. Excellent job. If you have used the international wing recently, Lagos, Abuja, you see the huge transformation that has happened. So they just have to be there and to say what's obtainable in Gatwick, what is obtainable in Heathrow, what is obtainable in Dubai airport. We find it in Nigeria today. And a whole lot of processes are being simplified on a daily basis. To the extent today, no more queue, we can actually scan our passports and walk through immigration, and things are getting really easy. To that very extent, and I think that they have done so well in transforming the image, because one of the big problems that you find is that when you're coming into Nigeria from the outside, you're afraid because if the aircraft arrives, you have to stay in the airport for another 1 hour before you can get clearance to get that. But all of those bottlenecks are now cleared away. And first came that, okay, like they do everywhere, trolley in our own international airport today, we don't pay again. You know, before they used to collect money from us and all of all this.
Trolley?
So, yes, trolley, yes, of course, we used to pay. But now I think that has been taken away. Our toilets are becoming, first class, beautiful. So, which means a lot of investments actually coming into the aviation sector. So when people do well, it's always nice to say thank you to them for doing well. And I think that what we're talking about here is how to maintain this facility over time. And maintaining this facility over time is really not to put too much burden on us. I will just extend the argument that Chooks has made, which is to say, how do other people make money from the airport? It's tourism, really. So a number of people fly in. Take, for example, Dubai International Airport alone makes up to $2 billion annually from 200 million tourists that visit Dubai annually.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc. Olumide, your perspective first.
20 million, not 200. 20 million tourists.
20 million
that
tourists.
visit Dubai annually.
Okay.
Well, just like Doc said, thumbs up to Federal Airports Authority. Between 2023 and 2024, they recorded an internal generation revenue of about 343.87 billion, which is almost double of what 2023 figure gave, which is 155.49 billion.
Okay.
So I think in the whole joy of, we've made a whole lot of money, let's try and make more. But just like Chuk said, it boils down on the person who flies. Businesses, it's going to affect the common man because people, these flight companies.
Common men don't fly.
No, I'm not talking. I'm not talking
about the people that
we are also going there. We are also going
Common
there.
men don't fly.
Common men don't fly.
Dear Oracle.
Flight is for the elite.
Now, dear Oracle, flying is not a luxury.
Are you talking about the average man or the below average?
Yeah, you see, when you say the common man on the street, many of the common men can afford ticket fee. Let's just
in
be honest.
Nigeria.
In Nigeria. So even elsewhere, not even Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
No.
In Nigeria.
Not in Nigeria.
Now,
I take, for example, in the UK, it's a luxury for people to even enter Uber cab. People use train facility.
Uber is different.
Yes, people use mass transit to travel across places, and they can be in a train for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, depending on the distance they are going toward. But the point I'm making is that flight is something that is for the elite class. Okay. So why, to that very extent, in my view, and I don't think that they are taking so much from society, and if society is taking from them, it should not be a problem. So let us not use the common man concept.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to point out some of the charges that the
Olumide has not landed. I just
apologize. Okay, yes, please.
Because he is using common man, and I know that when the PA is negotiating, they always use that concept of common man, and it's always not the common man they are defending; they are actually defending the elite.
Yeah, but when it comes to vote, we look for the common man.
Yeah, we vote. Yes, of course.
Okay. So Olumide, please.
Yeah. So like I said, higher fees could also discourage local operators, freight companies, and all that. And also, if they would in turn raise their own charges, which will now turn back on the common man. I was trying to say.
No common man. The elite.
Okay, he says the elite.
Let's just say you will come back to those who fly.
Yes. So, yes, upgrading to an automated system is lovely. And I also feel that this revenue increase and all that, they should also use it to implement other things. For instance, you and I talked about the operations going on, comparing Ghana airport and Nigeria airport and all that. I think they need to also, I think we should have a local carrier or international carrier. What do you think about?
Carrier.
Yes, a national carrier.
National carrier.
If we are generating so much, let's look into that also.
Okay, so thank you very much. I want to point out a few things here. And first of all, this specific increase that the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria is trying to push out, one, is to boost revenue generation.
Yes.
2 is to prevent fraudulent activities, most especially when they transact with cash
Yes.
in the international, within the premises of the airport. That in itself contributes to crime. But first of all, landing fees and charges. Airports, levy fees on airlines for of runway uses, taxiway uses, and other essential infrastructure. These charges are often calculated based on aircraft weight and size. Now, parking fees.
Is it affected?
And then I'm coming. I'm just trying to highlight all of them. Parking fees. Airlines are charged for parking their aircraft at designated areas within the airport. Passenger service charges. Airports collect fees from passengers, often included in the ticket price for the use of the terminal facilities and services. Then the terminal rentals. Airlines and other aviation-related businesses may rent spaces within the airport for terminal operations. Then you now come to security charges. Now,
car parks also.
Yes, airports may charge airlines on passengers for security services provided at the airport, and include other charges like aircraft fueling, ground handling charges, and other operations.
Hangar uses.
All those ones are not even included.
Are they part of the increment?
Okay, so what I am surprised, Mr.
Are they part of the increment?
Of course, all these are going to be, they should reflect. However, FAAN has not brought out, they just made a statement that they are going to increase tariff. They are not said that, okay, for each of these charges, we are going to increase, yes, this is what you will pay, or if the increase is going to go through all these categories of charges are just reeled out now. Okay. But the thing is this, the fact that they are getting 92% of revenue generation from aeronautic operations themselves are questionable, which actually brings what you're talking about to line, because if all these are raised, the airlines are going to be the ones that they will surcharge for this, and of course they'll carry out the burden on. So if they're going to talk about looking at another alternative of charges, what are they going to be looking at? That is not going to reflect on that is not going to reflect on the people that are going to be flying.
Okay, there are definitely other revenue earners for the airport. Now, Doc has opened our eyes as the regular flyer that he is. He's a world citizen, to be precise. So he has opened our eyes that a whole lot of changes have happened. Now, these are government spending, government infrastructure, government budget, government spent. Is government expected to recoup that money? Yes, because it's supposed to run like a private place. The airport is not a charity place. It's not a social responsibility. It's not a social responsibility and like that. But let's also have in mind that the more people that fly, the more money government can make. But it should not go directly to the people. Let's give an example. Eurojets. We have Spirit Airline. We have one other one in India. This particular business model was able to bring down the cost of flying, so that even let me not say the common man. The common man has no definition. That even the lower income earning people could fly.
Okay.
Because you want to cover up a long distance in a short period of time, so you need to fly. We don't have ships anymore in Nigeria now that ferry people that far. But we can get people. Some airlines tried doing it in Nigeria. I don't know if they are still in operation. The last two ones that came, let me not mention names. The one that had one beautiful agricultural color. Okay. This is what they are trying to do. Get people with low income to be able to fly. But now, if we take this amount of increment and put it on the ticket, it's going to be very expensive. Let's face those facts. So now, what should FAAN do? FAAN should look elsewhere. FAAN should come and hire Dr. Idahosa as a consultant. Let him put them in a know that if we can open up our airport without fear of security, open up our airport to people like Dubai, England, there are people handling those consultants. Ask them questions. How are you people doing it here? How come people are proud to come here and take memorabilia? Somebody travels and come back and what he's carrying is memorabilia from Dubai Airport, Gatwick Airport. Why can't you start having it here? So these are things that we might not really consider, but just imagine volume, 1 million, 2 million people crossing this airport that are not Nigerian regular flyers. How much the airport will be making? Okay. People coming to Nigeria just because of that airport.
You see, the challenge is the fact that I think ideologically disoriented a kind of. Because the people who make foreign policy do not necessarily situate policies within given frameworks. And I think that's a bigger problem that we have. There seems to be a disconnect between foreign policy or public policy makers and known theories and models that explain behaviors in a given pattern. So that's where we are missing it completely. Now, you see, when you look at tariff, for example, you look at taxes, you look at subsidies, they're policy models. And the whole idea is that government is able to actually use any of this model for fiscal discipline, such that redistribution of wealth can be even. But here, the reverse is the case, because all I'm thinking is that, oh, let's make more money. And therefore, almost all agencies of government have become revenue collection center. And at the end of the day, what this boils down to is it makes it very difficult for people to actually participate. I use this analogy every time. I was in Morocco last year, and my friend was saying, you see, the problem in Africa is that we can't travel into Africa. I'd have loved to come to Nigeria. It's cheaper for me to go to Australia than to come to Nigeria.
From Morocco to Australia.
Australia than to come to Nigeria. So because the cost is massive. And what is constituting this cost is these things that you have highlighted. The airlines are paying, the ticket, people are paying so much in ticket, but the money that is going back to the airline is so minute that it hardly covers their operation costs, whether they are local flights or international flights. So this is a problem. And I think that those who sit down around this table should not just be thinking about how much more money we are going to make. They should be able to do a cost-benefit analysis. How do we make this sustainable such a way that, yes, we are taking money, people can still continue to fly, those who own the aircraft can continue to operate and continue to make more money, so that the country can continue to make more money in the long run. But what we have seen is that we overcharge, then of course the operations go down, and the aircrafts are no longer there, they cannot replace their aircraft, and then it becomes moribund. So this is the challenge that, of course, the policymakers need to actually zero down on, so that we actually know why are we asking for more money. If it is maintenance, yes, what's the cost of maintenance? What are we maintaining? So these are the key questions that we should ask. But there's a point that I actually love in what Kuku said, is the fact that they want to automate collection of revenue. I hope that starts from the toll gate.
In fact, I thank you very much for equally bringing that up. I would have wanted to, for us to go to that part. You will add this to what you want to say. Okay. So sorry. The thing is, I have been to the airport, and I was told
Which of the airports?
The international airport.
Our international airport.
Our international, Murtala Mohammed International Airport. Okay. And when we're talking about, passing through, sometimes there's a specific area you want to pass through because you are expecting someone, and they're telling you it's 1,000 naira. I wasn't route driver. I was going to just walk through. I was told to bring 1,000 naira.
They were looking at your face.
No, they looked at me completely. There were other people that were told to bring money, and they told me to. They told all these people to stay back. Cars were coming in and driving in, and those cars, probably they've paid the 1,000 naira somewhere, or maybe they are not collecting from people who are using cars. So that's a problem. And if they are going to automate, it is going to be very, very fine. Two things I want us to consider as we wrap up this particular topic is this: Kenya Airways, I have to mention, Ethiopia Airways. Because Olumide referenced in the national carrier, and that has been a debate, Doc, in Nigeria for quite a while now. Why does it look like these crimes are making a success out of this, and the giant of Africa cannot do that? One. Two, why is it that when you go to the toilets in the international airport hangar, departure and arrival is different from when you want to use the local airports and you go to the restrooms?
I don't understand. Why is it different?
There's a difference.
But Doc said the restrooms now in the
international airports.
It's
and when I mean there's a difference, that of the international airport, of course, is different because the standard is high
Which of the airports? MM2?
Here, yes,
local?
Lagos, here. Yes, so those two things.
The toilets
I think
are good.
the toilets are, from the last time I went, they're well maintained.
Well,
let me put
yes,
it that way.
Calypso.
You're talking about the international airport,
No,
right?
MM2.
Because I have used them, and I also think that they could do better.
Okay. There's nothing that cannot be done better.
Great. So now you
Even for that
can go
Christmas.
ahead and address it. And
Okay. Let me follow up on what Doc was saying.
Yes.
We really want to see Festus Keyamo talk about maintenance and servicing of our aircraft here in Nigeria. The airlines and our authorities are losing a lot of money taking that particular business away from Nigeria. This is one thing they can invest in. Even if technicalities is the issue, we can bring them for it to happen here. Other African countries can now bring their own aircraft this way. You were talking about Kenyan Airlines and Ethiopian Airlines.
Yes.
Let's keep it to Ethiopian Airlines, leave Kenyan Airlines. They're suffering right now. It's all about management. There is no two ways about it. It's all about management. And when you take what belongs to government and you see it as a private thing, it's not my business. That is what a lot of government agencies have been managed over time. Before now. Right now, you are seeing an NPC that is looking a bit accountable. Was that what it was before? I don't know if you understand.
Yeah.
So until we start holding these agencies responsible or privatize them, let them be accountable. If they can't be accountable, then it will go down. Ethiopian Airlines they know.
That's a very serious
They
idea
know.
for the company, for the country.
If you make a mistake on that side, they know what the repercussions will be. But Nigerian Airways, for those that made Nigerian Airways, for those that were pleased and fortunate to have been born and made Nigerian Airways, congratulations to them. I remember when I was in secondary school, some of my mates, they were flying free, all because their parents were working there.
They were flying free.
Yes.
Yes.
They were flying free
My
of
classmates,
charge.
yes. They will fly free of charge. They will come pick them at the end of term, or they will pick them, drop them off, and they'll fly free home. Then now,
there were cases where pilots had to fly some big people girlfriend, only one person, on a passenger flight, and take him to London and wait for her to finish buying jewelry.
So how do you manage? How do you
Something
manage?
like that.
I don't know. How do you manage
Okay.
a business like that? Because it's a business.
Okay.
So now tell me why it won't go down.
Okay, so Olumide, yes, please
Okay,
start.
now, this is another thing we are appealing. We are not just content creators. We create content. And several times you see, be it media organizations or be it entertainment organizations or film organizations, go to an airport and they are said, no, you cannot film here. This is money looking at you. Look at Hollywood. Do you know how much major studios pay to the airport on a yearly basis? But we don't think, just like those, so we don't think towards that particular angle.
Okay.
Imagine if MM2 say, okay, if you are coming to film, we will make provision, we'll make every single provision. But if you are coming to roll cameras here for film, you are dropping $1 million.
$1 million. Okay, thank you very much. Olumide, please, if you can do that in less than a minute.
Just to buttress what he said, having a national carrier would definitely add more to our IGR. Also, like he said, other ways that we can actually generate, Federal Airport Authority can actually generate advertising. We have, what do you call it, hotels and conferences.
Hotels and conferences.
Imagine if you had, like hotels, lots of, maybe 2 or 3.
Owned by the government.
Owned by the government. Well maintained.
Even if it's not owned by the government.
Okay.
But they are paying tax to the government.
Okay.
Yes, well maintained. Just like you said, filming industry also.
Yes.
If you can bring that one in, it would actually, tourism. We can actually generate a whole lot from tourism.
All right.
So, I mean, yes, we want to make more money, but let it also trickle down. Let's see that, okay, yes, we're making more money and it's I would love to see a national carrier.
Great.
Before Doc come in,
Oh,
Doc was talking about the elite.
I don't want to bring it in again.
Because
Because we are
let's-
going for the
let's-
next.
let's-
we're going for the next
there are
topic.
2 hotels in that airport. Good. Both hotels, we can't go there.
For the
For the
Alright.
elite,
For
not
Doc,
just for the elite, for the elite.
for Doc and his colleagues.
elite. Yes.
Great, great. Doc heard that. I briefly might just reference that when we come back from this break. The Nigerian Customs Service will be our point of call when we return from this break. It's Souq News. Stay with us.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us. It's Souq Business Landscape. Our next story, the Senate Committee on Customs has directed the Nigerian Customs Service to increase its 2025 revenue target from 6.584 trillion naira to 10 trillion naira following its strong 2024 performance. The committee, led by Senator Isa Jibril, praised the customs for surpassing its 2024 target of 5.079 trillion naira by over 1 trillion naira, calling for a more ambitious target to boost the national revenue. While approving the proposed revenue and expenditure, the committee stressed the need for stronger anti-smuggling reports, especially against illicit drug fueling insecurity. Senator Jibril urged customs to balance a revenue collection with enforcement, emphasizing that supporting local production through reduced smuggling would strengthen the economy, preserve foreign exchange, and create jobs. Yes, 2025 projection about 6 trillion naira, and the new projection is 10 trillion naira. The reason is that the Nigerian Customs Service currently has a strong performance in the fiscal year. Chooks, the fiscal year. I am not surprised because if you remember vividly the 2025 budget, after the president had said about 49 trillion naira was sent to the Nigerian Senate for approval, and they've done that, and we were all waiting, and we saw that the budget is not still forthcoming. The presidential assent after the Senate took a look at it, it's not forthcoming. We started asking questions, and all of a sudden a supplementary budget, an additional amount of money, came up. And the thing is that the FIRS, the Nigerian Customs Service, and other government entities, brought about, Nigerian Customs Service brought about 1.2 trillion, yes. GOEs, that's government, other government entities brought about 1.8, and the FIRS brought about 1.4 trillion naira. So I was wondering, okay, so the addition came. Is it that as the Nigerian Customs Service, they are doing less than what they are supposed to do? Or is that there's no form of accountability, or there's no legislative framework set into the frame in which the Nigerian Customs Service can really, account for how much exactly they are receiving, so they can declare to the government authorities?
Okay, that still takes us back. This is like a jump from where we are coming from down to this particular place. Now, we saw not just a jump. It happened last year. It almost happened 2 years ago also. Now, we are seeing a service where we have a different set of people, a different captain is on board, and things are beginning to shape up. Can they do more than 6.584?
Trillion.
Definitely. Can they do more than 10? I believe definitely. Now, with automation, the middleman is cut off. And once you do that, government will directly get what comes into this country. Remember, we are import dependent. We import almost everything, down to crude.
So normally tariff or
down to the same crude that is our major foreign earner, we are importing crude as we speak. I pray that will stop. Good. But now, if we have that automation and it happens and Uncle Wale gets this through in this external, then good and fine. We will see a viable custom. Now, another thing we should start looking at is before this administration came up, we had indiscriminate import waivers that were given for non-essential items.
True.
We had a whole lot of political favors. People were importing all manner of importable things, and because you have someone in the corridors of power, they were not paying. We have people importing luxury items that that belong to doctors' class of citizenry. This is where I believe the presidency and customs should be looking at. Any of these items should come in with a 100% import tariff.
Okay.
Custom will make times 10 of that 10 trillion.
Okay. Doc, Chooks has time without number referring to you and your friends.
I say doctor, I'm not a doctor.
Okay. Doctor.
Thank you very much for your time.
Can we do more than 10 trillion naira?
I think it's not necessarily about what we can do. I made this point earlier on. You see, when we're making public policy, what is in the mind of those who are making the policy is what should be, what problem do we want to solve? That should be the question, first and foremost, to ask. So when we understand the problem that we're supposed to solve, then we now begin to look at which model fits that kind of a problem. We're dealing with unemployment. We're dealing with poverty. We're dealing with a lot of social issues. Now, you are seeing a country where government intervention is weak. And what you're supposed to be doing is actually be spending more money rather than collecting more money. Because the more money you collect, what you are doing, you're actually taking money away from the people. And you are making them becoming poorer.
If you're taking money from...
Yes, because what you are doing is you are asking custom to make more money. They don't have a factory.
Yet, they are charging...
It's excise and duties that they are for goods and services that are coming into the country or going out of the country.
Okay, let's focus on the ones that are coming into the country. Because the ones going out of the country...
Yes, excise and duties. That is how they make their money.
Yes, for those going out of the country, the government can also make policies that will say, okay,
see, this is what it is. If your goods going out, we're putting excise on it, which means here already, they are already militating factors. If it's agricultural products, we already know that our yield is low. We already know that we don't have technology to be able to drive costs down. So by the time you put excise on it, it makes your price high so that even in the international market, you are not competitive. So when you are putting import duties on the goods that are coming to your country, what that means also is that you are raising the prices for local consumption.
For non-essential items.
Now, and there are no local alternatives to some of these products.
Doc, can we focus on non-essential items?
So, what I mean is that our people are still going to buy it. They are going to spend more.
The elites are going to buy it.
This time, not elite, because we're not talking about air tickets.
Just a moment.
We're talking about consumer goods.
Yes, consumer goods
and
like
services.
Like laces.
Okay, so
consumer goods.
I need to allow Doc to land.
So the point I'm making is that also put the tomato paste.
No.
But we still bring them in.
No.
Whether I like it or not, we still bring in some wheat. Whether I like it or not, we still bring in some rice. Whether I like it or not. Now, all these things, if you put money on them, what that means is that we're taking more money out of the pocket of the people who originally are already very poor. And so we are making them poorer. So that's why I'm saying that those who make public policy must understand that what problem are we trying to solve so that we are not solving one problem in the other one and not creating a more problem on the other side. So it's always not about revenue. So we must look at it. If these guys are planting farm and they're having investment in industry, you could say, oh, you can produce more so I can make more money. But what you're simply saying is that increase taxes, increase tariff, so I can make more money and make it 10 trillion. And I don't think that the people who are advising the custom understand this dynamics of public policy to understand that this is having implications on the welfare of the people that they are supposedly representing.
Great. Now, so Olumide, you add this to what you're going to say. The thing is, the Senate will be having a plenary today, if not that they have already started as we speak. This is going to be presented in the Senate because it was the Senate Committee on Customs that were, examining and looking at the performance of the 2024 budget, and that's why they came up with this proposal. And the Senate itself is going to sit to make sure that if they are going to, approve this for the Nigerian Customs, for the proposed 10 trillion naira to go with it. So, what will be your take on this issue?
Now, I think I would like to agree for once with Doctor, because critics, and I also believe that Nigerian custom, their core mandate should be to facilitate trade.
Facilitate trade.
Ease of doing business, and not to just purely maximize revenue.
Okay.
Do you understand? Now, importers, what do you call them, economies and all that, this could actually choke trade. It could raise import costs, inflation, and drive businesses, of course, to neighboring states. So just like Doctor said, I don't know who's advising them. I don't know how they just believe making more money will just solve all these problems and all that. They should also look at the people bringing these things in. Well, Chooks is saying that what about those taking it out also and all that. But now, going to this Senate plenary and all that, I think the Senate, the legislators should also ask that all this, how is it going to facilitate the ease of doing business? How is it going to make ease of doing business smoother? How are we going to encourage, the person who wants to export agricultural, produce outside the country if you are raising all these tariffs?
Okay, but Chooks, but as you're responding, is it not logical? Because the framers of this policy, like Doc is saying, that they must put at the back of their mind the objective, the reason why they are churning out and framing this policy. What is the end goal? Is it for revenue generation? If we are preventing some products from coming into our country or we are imposing tariffs on it, it's because, and it should be that we are protecting some of the commodities or some of the products that we are able to manufacture back at home, so we can protect those industries to provide jobs for Nigerians. And if we are going to allow some of these products to come into our country by just giving them pittance as tariff, it's because we lack that power, we lack that advantage, and we want it to come in here for it to provide some form of succor to the factories that we have here, and we can take advantage of that technology to also create factories over here. What exactly do you think those who are coining this framework or this policy should put at the back of their mind?
Okay, before I get to this part of this particular question you asked, now let's get to 6.58 to 10 trillion. One of the major points they pushed out was automation.
Okay.
With automation, nothing will leave that port without clearance. Because all what you need to do is to swipe or to tag. So custom will have less direct interface with whoever is importing or whoever is exporting. So even with automation, you might not even be increasing what you're charging in the first place.
Okay. But sorry, just to put it straight.
Okay. As
of today, custom is one of the agents in Nigeria, government agents, that has properly automated.
They still need to do a whole lot.
But to a very large extent. In short, many agencies of government are asked to go really copy what customers do in terms of automation. So there's a whole lot of technology in terms of collection. So that I really don't think about leakages.
Okay. Now we get to see a large number of, let's say, vehicles for now. If you travel from here towards going down to the east, or Bini, Akure, if you get to custom office, you'll be asking yourself, do they sell vehicles here? You see, there are thousands of vehicles that have crossed the port that duty was not paid for because a middleman somewhere did something. So if custom can be able to do away with that, that particular revenue lost will be gained. Now let's also look at other product. The government, on their own part, brought in cars for members
of the House of Reps and the Senate every election.
Now, these are elites. These are
Thank you.
God bless you also. Now, this kind of items should be put on 100% tariff. I am 100% support of that. Every of these
that is what you see at the moment. It's 100%.
Items should be put on, and not just put on paper. It should be collected, not waiver, not
it's
signature.
It's collectible.
It's collectible. Is it collected? Not signature waiver. Now let's get back to what you were talking about. If we see a country where our president last week gave us a mandate that we are going to start producing wheat and increase on the wheat production, then why should we also be looking at people in the next 2, 3, 4 months going to collect government permits to go and import wheat at the same quantity they are importing? I don't know if you understand. So that way, if they know that there's a government policy that is working and wheat is about being cultivated as we speak right now, which means in the next 3, 4, 5 months, harvesting will be happening. Whoever is responsible for giving those particular papers for that importation should know that at the end of the day, if somebody is coming, there's going to be 50% increase in how much you're going to pay. The same thing is happening with rice. The president just launched a large chunk of tractors that came from Belarus. I don't know if you saw those pictures. These are
2,000.
These are going to be put in direct use, which means people are going to farm, which means anybody that is looking at importing rice in the next 6 months, slam tariff on the person.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, but you see, the point we also must put, like, a lot of experts have argued.
A lot of
experts have argued. You see, while you are thinking this one here, you're actually empowering some of those vehicles you talked about. They're coming in through the land border, not really through the seaport. So the reason is because a lot of things that could have landed in Nigeria, because of the cost of handling, they land in neighboring countries. And they come into our country through the bush paths. So why are port facilities not handling so much? The one in the neighboring countries are doing excellently well. Now, it's the same argument for subsidy, that when you increase, you put subsidy, the nation around you benefit. So I think we must also look at, should we encourage people really to be passing through bush paths? Can we simplify things so that the port can be very busy? Take, for example, I use UAE as a model because it seems working. Vehicle tariff, it doesn't matter what vehicle you drive, it's 5%. Across board, that's duty.
5%.
5%.
So if I buy a Corolla and you buy
a Lamborghini, it's 5% of your cost.
That's not fair.
Yeah, of course. No. It's fair because 5%. 5% of 10,000, 5% of 10 million, they're not the same.
They're different things, right?
They're different values.
Okay.
So that is what it is. So across board is 5%. So you go to the free trade zone where a lot of all the businesses are, over 20,000 companies operating in the free trade zone, is 100% corporate tax free and personal income free. Okay. And yet, that nation is developing. So there's something we can learn from them.
All right.
Where's their money coming from? What's the investment mode that we can copy and emulate so that at the end of the day, we can actually make a lot of money? Take, for example, the tallest building in UAE, Burj Khalifa. Dubai has 24% stake in that company. Not because they invested $1, but for the mere fact that they gave them land to build that company.
Okay, so thank you very much, Doc. Now, this is, as we round up on this topic, I want us to consider this. One of the, or two very important in the Senate raised, the Senate Committee on Assessment raises this. Before I said that, you were mentioning about vehicles and tariffs. So let me quickly shoot this in. About 2 years ago, the Nigerian Customs Service caught a young man between 18 and 24. His father is still one of the governors in the northern part of the country. And he came in, they saw him driving a specific car, which is almost similar with the ones used in Formula One. And they looked at the car, so they were questioning him. Did you pay duty on this car? Obviously, he did not. So they held him and they questioned him. I'm just bringing that up because you mentioned the bush part, and which is equally similar to one of the things that the Senate committee mentioned when they were assessing the performance of the budget of the Nigerian Customs Service in 2024. And they said that the customs need to do more in providing surveillance in the unmanned areas and also to protect and prevent smuggling of goods into Nigeria. And also, very importantly, they mentioned that one of the things that fuel insecurity in the country is the use of drugs, and the drugs coming through these unmanned areas. How can we stop that?
How can we stop that? For that particular issue, the drugs, is not just customs alone. It takes a lot of intelligence to hold on to illicit drugs, from port of departure down to port of arrival, down to where to be used. More than 60% of the drugs that come to Nigeria is not getting into Nigerian streets. We are more like a port for movement to other places. So it takes more. Yes, custom
like a conduit?
Well, custom will do their best, but they need to have a collaboration with other countries, be it the US, be it the South Asian countries, be it the Middle East. That way, they will always feed you information or feed you some form of notice. They know who is producing. They know who is moving. They might not know when. So you can always find out as, okay, good, there is an information that will now work. Now, for those that are manning these places, this is where we also need a whole lot of integrity. Nigerian Palace, they say money for
and
ground for
back for ground.
Okay, now you heard it from Priye. Now, this is where we will need a lot of officers with integrity to be positioned in these particular places. People that money will not sway them.
Okay.
But you see, a lot of times we keep focusing on government agencies and we forget the home.
Okay.
But I do believe, Chooks, that there are no unmanned gates in Nigeria.
There are no unmanned places?
There are no.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Okay.
You see, the reason why I said so, I have also had opportunity to have worked in that corridor in the southwest here. And I have somebody who is working around that Kebbi corridor, where party is coming in from Nigeria. How much is paid to people who stayed there? And they are uniformed people, our people who are staying there. Nothing gets into this country without anybody knowing. You see, that is a point that I want to make. And that is my appeal to everybody. Once we don't agree that this country belongs to us, and we have responsibility to make it work, it will not work. There is no unmanned or governed space in Nigeria. And I can say that with every air of authority.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari said that it's almost impossible to man all the borders.
Now, but what I'm saying to you is that we can take camera. You think that these things are coming in and people are not collecting revenue from it?
Somebody somewhere is paid. That's what
Let's not get into this argument. You see, because, yes, the truth of the matter is that these places are manned. They know where everything is coming in.
Okay, so those who are manning those places, they are fraudulent.
Yes, that is a problem, and that is what we need to deal with. Because even some of them have to even bribe to be posted to those areas.
Okay.
So we should tell ourselves some very honest and very bitter truths. See, the problem with us is the fact that you were talking about Ethiopia earlier on, how their aircrafts are working. Because the people, the citizens see it as their own. If you go to Morocco, it's the same thing. If you go to Libya, it's the same thing. If you go to other places, in some places that are doing well in Africa, it's the same thing. But here, we don't see these things as belonging to all of us. And everybody is looking for a way to make personal money into his personal pocket. And therefore, we subvert government policy, we subvert the laws of the land just to benefit ourselves. That is, for me, what the issues are. Because all these cars that are driving, they are driving past in the night. I have traveled those roads, and I see 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., they are there, and they are active.
Great. Olumide, as we round up.
Well, I think the major thing right now is to try and make sure that, just like Chuk said, ensure anti-leakage, stricter anti-leakage enforcement, in as much as we're trying to generate more revenue. But all in all, let's protect trade momentum, basically.
All right. When we return from this break, single-use plastics in Lagos State, the ban will commence in July 1st. It's just at the corner. But guess what? Manufacturers Association of Nigeria says no. And they are giving their own counsel to the Lagos State government. When we return from this break, we'll bring you the complete report. Stay with us.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting a Nigerian label, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has warned the Lagos State government that planned ban on single-use plastics from July 2025 could wipe out the livelihoods of over 89% of businesses in the plastic value chain. According to the MAN director, MAN meaning the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the Director General Segun Ajayi Kadir, a study shows that manufacturers, wholesalers, traders, and end users heavily depend on single-use plastics, with many having no alternative source of income. Ajayi Kadir criticized the state's approach as lacking credible data and proper stakeholder consultation, calling it unsustainable and reactionary. He urged the government to strengthen existing recycling programs instead of introducing new funds, warning that the ban could lead to job losses, reduced export earnings, higher consumer costs, and shortages for recyclers. The Lagos State government insists that it had engaged stakeholders and provided a 1-year window for adjustment. That is the battle in Lagos currently as we speak. 89% of manufacturers are going to lose their livelihood because they depend on that. That is coming from Ajayi Kadir, the MAN director. Doc, do you see this man as just saying things, or is not putting into consideration the report that we watched before we got back from the break that talked about waste management? Because his criticism is that the Lagos State government has not taken critical look to the management of recycling of plastic use in the country and has not found industrial use for them. Do you think his argument is tenable?
Well, I don't think it's tenable. And I think it's just a lazy way that the African man don't want to make progress. And I think that's very, very unfortunate. If you see the way things are today in the world globally, you see what happened during the COVID-19, when a lot of things shut down and nobody was producing anything. All the factory in China converted automatically to producing PPP. That's it, because they are flexible. And this is the way factories are designed today, not designed to produce one mode.
What do you mean by PPP, so they can understand?
Yes, they call it personal protective
Equipment.
Equipment,
yes,
okay.
PPE. So those hand gloves and the rest of it, face masks and the rest of it. All the factories were producing in large quantity. They didn't set up the factory to produce
single.
Yes, so it was a dual factory model that they built. And this is what everybody is doing, agile factory, that you can have factories that actually, once there's a downtime in this area, you can actually switch to produce some other thing. And I think this is the way we should be thinking. We should not always be seeing the problem. We should also be seeing the opportunities that come with some of all these things. That look, yes, people are still going to carry things. It may not now be that we're going to be using plastic. It could be now we're going to be using paper to carry some of our luggage. In Rwanda here, there's a clean environment. If you get into Rwanda airport today, as you are coming in with a plastic or paper in your hand, they collect it from you and dump and trash it right at the airport. So it doesn't even get into the town. So I think these are the things that we should understand. So if you go to supermarket, people are producing paper instead of rubbers. But we must agree with ourselves that, look, these are biodegradable materials, that you have plastic. Look at it, even with all the recycling you're talking about. Go to all the drainages in Lagos and see the number of this plastic and waste that is littered everywhere.
His argument is that we're supposed to have, this government was supposed to have a system where you have a recycle system management that we can have industrial use for this thing.
So why is it government? Is it not the people who are producing the, take for example, toilet tissue? I played in that area in a little while. See, what do we do in toilet tissues? You have pulp, which are from plant directly. You also have recycled pulp. Who is the person doing the recycled pulp? The man who's producing it to go to paper industry, gather paper to come recycle to produce tissue. So the people who are doing plastic that he is arguing for should actually be the one being on the street retrieving this plastic. I was across the marina, a village there, and I was telling them, oh, this plastic, this thing, and I said, look, how much is it? For us to ferry this thing across the water, we know how much is it. We can't carry it across the water because it's expensive. And there's nobody who's coming here to come and collect it. So we dump it anywhere. So these are issues that we must have to address. If government is saying that, look, single practice is not good because we're also trying to protect our environment for us to be able to live good life, healthy life, then we must not be thinking of the interest of just one man who's going to make profit at the expense of the life of children, our children, and our children's children. So when we're thinking the environment should be safe, and I think the manufacturing association should be thinking what alternatives are available, because as they say, if one door closes, then definitely 2 or 3 more doors should open.
Olumide.
All right. So basically, just like Doc says, when there's an issue, an opportunity creates itself. Now, what I would also envisage is that let's look at some other countries that have tried this and how they did it. He mentioned Rwanda, so let's look at Rwanda. Now, Rwanda, around 2008, they banned plastics, and it was a plastic-free campaign and all that. So what they did was that there was a transition. There was government-backed loans and incentives.
Government-backed loans and incentives.
For these manufacturers. There was aggressive sensitization and educations in meetings and in schools.
Okay.
Those were the steps that were taken to make sure that this was. If you look at Kenya also, Kenya had this, they call it the stricter enforcement.
Okay.
But if you look at Kenya today, Kenya is also considered one of the cleanest places in Africa.
Okay.
So I think we should first look at these countries. How are they able to phase out this? Because it is also estimated that over 500 billion naira is being made from the plastic sector.
500 billion naira
monthly
in Lagos.
Yes, estimated.
Monthly.
Estimated.
Okay.
So now, the route I think we should go is recycling. Just like Doctor said, the same people making this plastic, they should also look into it. So that's how an opportunity has created itself for the people manufacturing this plastic. How can we, recycle? You and I, we've interviewed a woman who was advocating for recycling. She wanted government loans. She wanted to partner with the government and bring in these machines whereby people can actually earn something by just dropping this plastic in disposable bins. You put it into the machine, it gives you some sort of money, and it can also encourages a clean environment. Yes. But unfortunately, she didn't get that support. Okay. But I think this is another opportunity.
Yeah, but you see, in terms of getting business support, and I think it's a model. See, you can't just say you have an idea, and of course, the cash flow is not backing what your idea you have. If you're going to take a facility, you must also be sure that the possibility of paying back that facility is also high, and that's what makes business. So that somebody will give you a loan, and at the end of the day, you are not able to pack it. But let me be very honest with you. Let me be very honest with you. the people you are mentioning, whether it's Rwanda, whether they are Kenya, they are very law-abiding.
So we are lawless.
No. Doctor, we are very law-abiding too. At least you are a very law-abiding.
We are law-abiding to some extent.
You say to some extent. You say to some extent.
70%.
See, what you need to be in Rwanda, for example, and see the level of orderliness. See, when you see, I don't want to say we are rebellious. We are a protesting nation.
Are we? Is it because we attend Protestant churches or what?
We are protesting nation.
It's a heterogeneous
we
society.
protest everything. So what you're seeing here right now is that government is trying to say this is the way to go, which should be the role of government. And you're seeing people who are advocates on television, on the newspaper, who said, no, we can't go with you. It must be our way or no way. And then, of course, this blackmail continues. And then we remain where we are. But in these countries you're mentioning, when they say there's traffic light, people are driving in the night, they see traffic light, they will stay.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
You don't see police.
Okay.
You don't see last man.
All right.
Manning traffic light elsewhere, except in Nigeria. Here.
Okay, fine. I need to make this correction. I know that this is not the perspective from which the doctor is speaking. Okay. However, Nigerians are not peculiar people, and they are not.
No, we are lawless. Peculiar people.
No, I mean peculiar people like lawlessness. We're not peculiar to lawlessness. That's not what he's saying. So I need to make that part very, very obvious to all of us watching. I was going to call you Doc until
No, you can't prophesy. You can't.
So,
feel free to prophesy.
Lagos is known as one of the states when it comes to law implementation. We could see that from the disposition of the CAI and, last mile, sometimes it can be overzealous, though. We could see that, how they implement these laws to create, to make Lagos State reflect that mega city or the metropolitan city that we all look out for. But the thing is it because we have the United Nations or the foreign agencies and foreign governments doling out money to African countries, green energy revolution, to sponsor things that have to do with green energy and sustainable environment and sustainable development? Is that the reason why Lagos is hell-bent on implementing this policy? Or is this just that it's for the benefit of society? Can one just be pessimist, just to play the role by balancing the equation with Lagos State and not lawlessness like Doctor will refer it?
Okay, it's not because of UN, it's not because of any of the green revolution, it's not because of any of them. The fact about this matter, the truth about this matter is that we are beginning to have increase in cancers traceable to plastics in human bodies. It's even gone beyond plastics in human bodies. We are now seeing plastics in fishes. And at the end of the day, we end up consuming that particular fish. We are beginning to see our drainages, our waterways clogged, blocked by this set of single-use plastics. We are beginning to see our landfills, our farms. That's even the one that is we are seeing right now. You go to an area to farm and you're digging up plastic from the ground. So it's affecting the plants, it's affecting animals, it's affecting the human being, it's affecting the unborn. So it's not just any of the international organizations. It's our living everyday reality right now. So is Lagos State in the right place to say we have to put a hold on this? 100% yes. Now, this has been running for 2 years. This is the one that kind of beats me. And they have not really enforced it the way I think they should have. The orientation has not gone that far, because if it should get to the point whereby the child in primary school, if let's say I'm going out with my child and we step into a market to buy something, and my child will tell me, no, our teacher said we should not use or we should not use this. That is where the orientation should get to.
Okay.
So it's not just about the manufacturers alone, because they are trying to be like a brick wall. Let's cast our minds back. Everybody on this table is above 35. Growing up, the major roofing...
Except...
sorry, apologies. Except doctor that is almost getting to 80. Growing up, the major roofing sheets, if you remember then, used to be asbestos. Down to your ceiling, asbestos material. And we had a lot of asbestos companies here in Nigeria. But what did we come to discover? They were carcinogenic. Okay. And gradually we phased it out. Okay. Now we have roofing sheets, we have spans, we have coated, we have aluminium, we have stones, we have clay. I don't know, it took time for that transition to happen. Okay. Let's also see this as a transition. Right. Is it good for us? Yes, it has to be. Is it that plastics will completely go away? No, we can have plastics for big containing stuff, but when it comes to end users, we should find alternative. This is now where research comes in. So they should be open. Can government do more? Definitely government can do more, and government should do more. So we should be open to those research.
Okay, so one thing I don't want to let go before we leave this is, I know Dr. partially referred to it when Olumide was referring to Rwanda and some of the countries. He said they are playing a big role. He talked about government-backed loans for the manufacturers, for the investors. And for a country as Nigeria, we can't be losing 500 billion naira daily because we are transitioning. If we are transitioning, what is the business alternative that is going to come into the system to replace the 500 billion naira that manufacturers will now start getting? Because the livelihoods of these people are going, all the people in their employment, the jobs, we are losing that. Are we putting that into consideration?
Can I chip in on that particular thing before Olumide comes in? Now, you're looking at 500 and something billion. Good. Now, God forbid, let's say give and take in 5 years, we have a population of over 1 million suffering from health issues from plastic. It has swallowed that 500 and something because it's going to come out of government budget to go into the health system, which government is not in budget in the first place. So I don't know, in the long run, we are going to lose. Okay. So that really comes to play. So I think if we want to tackle, we should start tackling this now. Because if we have a health pandemic thanks to plastic, God help us.
Okay, Olumide.
All right, so I must also say this, and I must also put it out, that it is environmentally sound for this ban to be effected. And I believe Lagos State has the best interest of people. However, let's also look at the alternative. Now, from what I am seeing here, it is estimated between $5 billion to $10 billion. The Nigerian plastic recycling value chain is valued, between $5 to $10 billion. That's the, estimated. So let's look at that. With 750,000 to 1 million jobs, that's the estimate. So if we go that route, we are also creating jobs. So it's like, fine, we're also phasing out one thing and moving into another phase, and not jeopardizing the job, unemployment, and all that. We're also taking that into consideration. So I think that Doctor is going to say government should not get back loans, and all, but I think that would also help to help manufacturers to move into that phase smoothly, and of course an eco-friendly environment.
Hold the manufacturers responsible. The big boys, the big international boys that are making I won't call their names, making soda drinks. They should be the first to stop using single-use plastics. The government should enforce that.
You know, the last time I traveled to Paris, in the hotel, they used to serve bottled water. The last time I went, this bottled water in plastic. The last time we had a conference, they put 3 bottles, real bottle, not plastic, on the table. And that's where everybody will cop around, that's where everybody's fetching from.
It's reusable.
Yes, reusable. So they're no longer serving those plastic drinks. Same thing in Manchester. So you see, we are the level of protestation here is so high that people just don't want things to work. And we must find a way to rope somebody in. Now when we're saying save your life,
you call it
which for me what is, and you say, government come and help me save my life. I don't think that is what it should be. People are doing business.
There's a new business that is opening up. People just transition. There's a BOI that's giving money to people. Government has put money, federal government, state government, put money into BOI. Lagos is partnering with BOI. If you need money to do business, the BOI is there. There's a Lagos scheme with BOI. So I don't understand what we call a state-backed loan. You see, because the truth is that we see what's happening elsewhere. The thing you are seeing elsewhere is the fact that people want to obey law. Here, people want to obey them in breaches.
Okay.
And that's why we are complaining that our laws are not working.
All right. So now, this is...
Just one more thing.
Okay.
One of those same companies, I won't mention the name, as we speak right now, their packaging is paper, if you've observed.
Okay.
One of those big soda companies, as we speak now, one of those companies on your way to the airport, by the right-hand side.
Okay.
So their packaging is full paper, not synthetic paper, not paper with plastic inside. And the straw is also paper.
All right. Great.
It's
So
true.
if that can work, others should learn.
It's very
Okay.
Let's stop complaining.
Some of my
Sensitization.
friends, some of my friends in the UK and in the European countries, they tell you, if you go to the supermarket, you had better go with some of this, the previous one that you bought. If it is synthetic material, you need to go to the market and the store with it. Because if you're going to get, if you think you bought something and the storekeeper is going to give you a new one for you to, put the items you bought, you're going to buy that.
It is
And
in
sometimes
Lagos.
because you want to avoid buying it, you have to save the one you have to be reused. And sometimes you could use that for as long as you can, and it damages and you go and it is phased out. And little by little, there's this strategic way that it is being phased out. And not only is it government driven, including the business people, the storekeepers, the restaurants, the eateries in Lagos and in Nigeria must also fall in line, not to patronize those people. If they're going to do that, they should be the ones telling them, okay, give us paper, packaging, for us to sell food for those who are going to buy. And for Olumide and Souq and others, if you are going to buy food, don't come with a plate from the house to buy it. So that you do not
from my house.
From the house, yes. So you do not
office.
promote the manufacturing of these plastics. Okay. And for you Nigerians out there, this is where we draw the curtain. And as we're doing that, we're going to have last words from everyone, starting from Souq as you sign out.
Thank you very much for having me and us. To everyone out there, remember this country belongs to all of us. It's our responsibility to see Nigeria work. And we want you to have this at the back of your mind that this country will work in your lifetime. Don't postpone it.
Okay.
That's to work now.
Right.
My name is Souq, John Rogers Souq. We'll do this again tomorrow.
All right.
Cheers.
Yes, the doc.
Men build nations. And I expect that as Nigerians, we must build our country, that our children and our children's children must be proud of. The responsibility is ours. Nobody will do it for us. See you tomorrow.
Yes, Olumide.
I think if we're going to actually promote Nigeria first, it starts from the mind. Let me borrow from Doc's word. It starts from the mind. It starts from your attention, your belief that, yes, this is my country and I need to take responsibility. If it's going to get better, it has to start from me. So I believe that, yes, it starts from the mind. Let's begin to think Nigeria. Let's begin to be our brother's keeper, in quote. I am Olumide Sokoya. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, I think you've heard it all from the gentlemen on the table. I am Oyinpreye Krumale. Until we'll come your way tomorrow, do have a splendid afternoon.
Think Nigeria, because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.